All right, last day we started our TicTacToe project. In BlueJ, we made a new project and that creates a folder automatically for us, and I chose to save that folder to the desktop. So if I open that up, you'll see a bunch of files here. You'll see the title image. This is the image we used for our first screen. I also saved my Microsoft Word document called Rough Work. And this is just the layout of my title screen with my two buttons and then an arrow pointing to what is going to be the next screen. This will be the actual playing board where players will click on each square and try and win the game. Of course, you can make this even better. You could make a bigger tic-tac-toe board, maybe 5 by 5, something like that, or perhaps even a three-dimensional board. And maybe a bit later I'll talk about what that might look like, how you'd get that to work. Okay, so I'm going to leave this open, and I'm going to open my project, my package. Okay, and so right now if I run it, it's going to look like this. All right, so there's my main screen, and I've drawn two buttons. Hopefully you were okay getting the second button drawn. But right now I click and nothing happens. So in this video, I'm going to click on the two-player button, and I want it to go to the next screen, which is going to be the actual game board, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so we do have some code inside the main class, but we're actually not going to change it much for this whole project. We've created a tic-tac-toe game object, and we're adding that to our frame and setting it visible. So I'm going to close this, and we're simply just going to work on our tic-tac-toe game class. Okay, so if you had trouble drawing that second button, we drew the buttons inside a method called start screen. So this is where I drew my image, my title, and then I drew my player 1 button and my player 2 button, and that is all that we have so far. And this method is being called up in the paint method. Okay, and the paint method is run automatically as soon as the program runs. And as you're going to see, the paint method is going to be called many, many times in the program. So I'm simply saying if screen is 1, if we've just started the game, then I'm going to call start screen. Okay, so then we are going to put code inside mouse clicked. So basically, whenever I click the mouse through the duration of my game, this code is going to be run here. So the first thing I'm going to do is get the X and Y coordinates of exactly where the user clicked. So we can do that easily by using these built-in methods of the mouse event class called getX and getY. And I'm going to just simply store them into X and Y. So basically, if the program's running and the user clicks, if let's say they click in the top left corner, then my X and Y are going to be 0, 0. And if they click right in the middle, the moment they click, then X and Y are going to be 450, 450, because my screen is 900 by 900. Okay, so now we're just going to have a ton of if statements in here. And we're going to start by saying, if we're on screen 1, and later we're going to say else if screen is 2, perhaps screen is 3, depending on how many screens you decide to have in your program. So now, assuming we're on the title screen, you can even put a little comment here, just reminding yourself where screen 1 is. So screen is the title screen. So now we need to say if X is between. I'm going to do the two-player button first, because the one-player mode is going to be the harder game to create. So I'm going to work on creating the two-player game first. So we need to say if X is between these coordinates here, and if Y is between these coordinates here. And if I grab my pen and just make a little note here on the screen, this coordinate, if I just look at my code here, I drew that button at, so that coordinate right there is 500, 600. So it's 500 across from the origin, and then it's 600 pixels down. Okay, this drawing is definitely not to scale, but if I look at my code, the top left corner of my two-player button has an X value of 500 and a Y value of 600. And then I made the button 300 pixels wide. So that means this point here has an X value of 500 plus 300 is 800. Okay, and the button is 100 pixels high. Okay, so it's 300 pixels wide by 100 pixels high. So that means this point here and this point here have a Y value of 700. Okay, again, obviously not drawn to scale. This button is actually further up on the screen. But these numbers are going to be very important. So this specific two-player button, the X values are between 500 and 800, and the Y values are between 600 and 700. So basically I want to say if they click anywhere in this button, so if the X value is between 500 and 800, and the Y value is between 600 and 700, then that means I've clicked on that button and I can go to the next screen. So if we jump to our code, we're going to say if X is greater than or equal to 500, I forgot already, yeah, 500 and 800. So if X is greater than or equal to 500 and X is less than or equal to 800, and the Y value is greater than or equal to 600 and Y is less than or equal to 700. So there's 4 conditions and all of them must be true, and that means I've clicked successfully on that second button. So here's what I'm going to do. If that's true, if the user clicks within this region, I'm going to change the screen to screen 2. So you could either do that or you could say screen plus plus just to change the screen from screen 1 to screen 2. And I'm going to set my players to 2. So I think I have a players variable at the top. Yes, so I made an int variable players. Right now it's not assigned to anything, but if I click that button, if I click the 2-player button, then I'm gonna assign players to 2. All right. Now, at the end of this method, so at the very end of the method, I'm going to say repaint. And that line of code will call the paint method once again. So after I click somewhere, these variables may or may not be changed depending on where I click. And then I'm going to call the repaint method. So that's going to call the paint method. And if I go there again, okay, there's my paint method. You'll notice that every time the paint method is called, it's doing this if statement. So if screen is 1, I'm going to draw the start screen. Else if screen is 2, then I'm going to draw the board. Okay, so now we need code for drawing the board. So if I scroll down, here is my draw board code. And right now I'm just for testing purposes, I'm just going to set the color to red. And I'm simply going to draw a big rectangle that will cover the whole screen. So 00 to 900, 900. I'm going to change this. I'm going to make this look better. So I'm going to put a background image, and then of course we're going to draw our grid lines for the TicTacToe program. So, but for now I'm just going to do this, and let's just see if this works. So we'll compile. All right, we're good. No errors. So let's run the main. Okay, so now I'm just going to test it out. If I click around, nothing, 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 nothing. If I click the one player, nothing yet because I haven't coded it. And if I get really close to this on all sides, nothing. But if I click inside, there we go. So everything works. When I clicked that button, the if statement was true. I changed to the second screen, and right now I'm just drawing a red box. But in the next video, we're going to see how to put an image here. Might look a bit better, a nice background. And then we'll see how to draw the grid lines, and then we'll go from there. Okay.